November, the month of early morning mists, the trees bereft of all their leaves lay dormant. Most birds have left the hedgerows, but one true friend remains, the robin. Whatever the weather to come, he will stand by us, and see the winter through, his bright red breast shining like a beacon in the dark days to come. December brings the first frost. The ground is hard, and the bird bath is frozen. Twigs are covered in hoarfrost, whilst the few remaining flowers stand out like crystallized fruit. Cobwebs sparkle in the morning light, and insects will have no trouble avoiding their deadly trap. The garden pond is covered by 2 inches of ice, the fish just distorted images below. Frozen fields where horses graze, kept warm by their New Zealand blankets. No blankets needed for these cows with their thick hide, or the sheep in their thick woolly coats. The frozen lake makes a hazardous landing place for the local ducks, but they adapt very well and quickly find their feet. Ducks aren't the only ones to venture onto the ice. Frozen floodwater provides an exciting habitat for these boys to take part in impromptu ice hockey games. They are having fun, but I can't see any of these turning professional. Of course, you never know. This young lad is more interested in his stick than his sledge, but this young family can't wait for the snow to come. January sees the arrival of the snow they have been waiting for, and soon the countryside is covered in a blanket of white. With all this snow around, the fun place to be is Painted Beacon. People young and old can enjoy sledging on the gentle slopes. After the snow comes the thaw, and February sees the River Severn bursting its banks and flooding the surrounding meadows. February also brings the snowdrops, which shows that spring is just around the corner. It is October. Summer flowers are well past their sell-by date, and autumn has arrived at Westonbirt. This National Arboretum is one of the world's finest collections of trees and shrubs, with over 18,000 listed specimens spread over 60 acres. Started by Robert Holford in 1829, the Arboretum remained in the Holford family for 130 years, but then passed to the Forestry Commission, who still manage it today. Come and wander at your leisure along any of the 17 miles of pathways which lead you through this charming landscape. Autumn is a time of spectacular leaf colours throughout the Arboretum, which is unrivaled in Britain and attracts thousands of visitors from all over the world. Falling temperatures and shortening days provide the triggers for deciduous trees to begin the process of shutting down for winter, and the results can be seen from space, with a band of colour advancing southwards from the Arctic towards the tropics at a rate of 60 kilometres a day, and it is estimated that in just a few weeks 300 million tonnes of chlorophyll are destroyed. This group of visitors are reading a notice about the varnish tree, the gum from which is used by the Chinese as a varnish and dates back to the 1st century AD. The winged spindle tree is a native of Japan and China, and is so called because its wood was used for making spindles for spinning yarn, whilst its pink berries, when dried and powdered, can be used to clear head lice. The ornamental vine adds a splash of colour as it runs rampant over several conifers. The red oak, whose leaves are more brown than red. Japanese acers were first planted in 1875 by George Holford, who was the son of Robert, and he continued planting for the next 15 years. Acers were cultivated in Japan from 1603 to 1867, but many types were destroyed during the Second World War, being used for firewood. Then in the 1960s they achieved a recovery, and now over 400 different varieties exist. Acers were first introduced to Britain during the 17th century, and in 1656 they were being cultivated by the gardener to Charles II. The Cotoneaster frigidus provides the birds with a rich harvest of red berries to see them through the winter. The white flowers of the Arbutus nido is a native of the Mediterranean. This is the yellow-berried yew. One native tree to provide colour is the beech, but it is under threat from global warming and also the grey squirrel, who strip young trees of their bark. Now we have the paperbark maple. The dawn redwood is a conifer, but it has a deciduous habit. The brown-red leaves on the scarlet oak. The entrance to Acer Glade was planted in the 1960s by the Forestry Commission. A close-up of Acer palmatum kagero. There are many Acer specimens to be viewed. This one is Acer palmatum, also Kazuki. Now we have a general view of Acer Glade. Another sample of Osa Kazuki, while this one is the coral bark maple. This Acer is called Silver Vein, as you can see from its trunk where it gets its name. Acer palmatum matsurumeri. These are the last of the Acers, and it brings to the end our visit to Western Burt Arboretum to see the autumn colours. The red berries of the holly means that winter is just around the corner, with that Christmas carved bird, the robin.